You lie down after a long day. You close your eyes. You tell yourself, this is rest. But somewhere in the dark, some part of you is still running the numbers. How many hours are left? Whether your sleep score will be good, whether tomorrow will feel earned because of tonight. Your body stopped moving. Something underneath it didn't. Look at the picture again, the one where a person looks completely at peace, and somehow, at the exact same time, still looks like they're sprinting. That's not a contradiction. That's most of us, most nights. In a moment, I'll give you a single-line test that tells you instantly whether what you call rest is actually rest, or just work, wearing softer clothes. And by the end, you'll see the real measure of whether you ever actually stopped at all. A test almost everyone fails without noticing they were even taking it. Here's where it starts. You schedule your recovery. You track your sleep score down to the minute. You build a playlist for unwinding, curated like a portfolio. Somewhere in that instrumentation, rest quietly disappeared, and something else moved into its place, wearing rest's clothes, but carrying rest's opposite inside it. Here is the test. If your rest has a goal, it was never rest. It was work, just dressed differently, still asking to be measured, still asking to perform. And you didn't notice the switch because the switch felt responsible. It felt like self-care. That's what makes it so hard to catch. The costume is so convincing, you forget there's a body underneath it, and that body is still working.
This tension is not new.
Centuries ago, a Roman emperor argued with himself about it in a private notebook, never meant for anyone else's eyes. Marcus Aurelius pushed hard against the pull of the bed, telling himself he was made for action, not comfort. But even he stopped short of denying rest altogether. He admitted that nature allots us a certain stint of it, the same way it allots eating and drinking. Not infinite, not zero, a measure. What he was fighting wasn't rest itself. It was rest that overstays its stint, and action that falls short of its own. Even the most duty-driven philosophy in history left room for an unoptimized pause, one it didn't try to justify. But before we crown non-purposive rest as the cure, let's give the other side its due. Maybe some people genuinely don't restore that way. William James noticed that for many souls, passive happiness turns slack, even insipid, that some friction, some no pushing back against them, is what makes their existence feel like it has texture at all. If that's you, structured rest might not be a trap. It might be self-knowledge. The real question isn't whether you rest with structure or without it. It's whether that structure was imposed on you for output's sake, or whether it was discovered, the way Marcus discovered his stint, by listening rather than extracting. So what does rest look like when nothing is being extracted from it? Picture thought without a leash. Not thinking towards something, but thought that floats, sinks, rises, according to its own gravity. No compelled track, no destination waiting at the end of it. That's the old description of the wandering mind, and it's closer to the mechanism of real restoration than any technique you could deploy. Notice the trap hiding in that last sentence, though. The second you aim wandering at a goal, better ideas, more creativity, useful insight, you've smuggled the goal back in. You've rearmed the very drivenness this was supposed to interrupt.
Here's the part that stings a little.
Why does unstructured time feel like losing yourself rather than finding yourself? Because if your identity has been built out of output, then time that produces nothing reads as a small erasure. Seneca warned that the things which appear to cost nothing often cost the most. They quietly seized the very freedom we thought we still owned. He said, "The one who owns himself has lost nothing." And then he added the uncomfortable part. How few of us are ever blessed with that ownership. The discomfort you feel in empty time isn't proof something's wrong with you. It's proof of how much of you had been mortgaged out. So, where do you actually land on this? Does stillness feel like peace to you, or does it feel like disappearing? I genuinely like to know. There's a shift James described that still sounds almost impossible to trust. He called it the passage from tenseness and self-responsibility into equanimity and peace. And the strange part is how it usually arrives. Not by doing more, not by trying harder to relax, but by simply relaxing and throwing the burden down. Letting go here isn't the failure it's often mistaken for. It's the act. It takes a kind of nerve to stop monitoring yourself, even for an afternoon. Call it the discipline of refusing to extract. Quiet, almost invisible, and much harder than it sounds, because everything around you is built to reward the extracting. So picture that line again. Walking with no destination, no step counter, no route worth remembering. Somewhere along the way, it stopped and doubled back on itself and started counting its own steps. That's what happened to your rest, and now you know the exact moment to watch for. The real test of rest isn't how good it feels, it's whether it can survive having nothing to show for it. A walk you never post, a silence you don't mind, an afternoon that makes you no better and no more efficient tomorrow. Nothing was solved here, nothing was tracked, and for once, that was the entire point. The line simply stops, mid-stride, with no arrow pointing anywhere. Tell me if you can, the last time yours did.